week that I've resumed. I will continue that till December, and it will go to a monthly podcast. If I can do that, then be assured that a monthly delivery to you wouldn't be a problem for me. I have had a weekly session with the president, which is all documented. We'll continue to do that every week. And we've had monthly town halls. We've done one. We're getting ready for the second one. So I think that the requirement for knowledge and information is not a privilege that we give to Nigerians. It is a right that they are entitled to. And as long as I have any influence at all in this sector, I intend to ensure that that right is respected and delivered upon. Now, the other question Senator Ram asked me for on the 20 fixes. Why is it that excuse me. Sorry, I get confused with some of these questions. I think Senator Gershom, you did ask me on the local content drive what I intend to do on local content. Let me say that the local content board has done quite a lot of work. I think the previous occupants of that position did a yeoman's job, quite frankly, in terms of delivering on local content. We're going to build on that. And whilst they had focused substantially on the issue of contractual deliveries and personnel, we're going to focus a lot more on the issue of incentivizing and issue of investments. So it is something we're going to continue. Now we're going to begin to go into the hard knuckles. Most of the investments that you see Nigerian companies do have been largely in the peripheral areas of the oil sector. Now, but the reality is that the oil sector is moving. If you look at our statistics, a greater amount of petroleum is being produced, not from onshore facilities anymore, but from the PSCs. So we're going to have to encourage Nigerians and the banks and the financial institutions, and indeed, hopefully, one of the things we're looking at is a wealth fund that will be set up to assist Nigerians get into the very complicated adult levels of investment in the deep stream sector. But local contents were relevant. However, whilst the local content drive will be essential and will be grown, we must find a way of harmonizing some of the rudiments of local content that have tended to slow down, ability of the oil companies to go fast on approvals. So NNPC has got to work hand in hand with these companies to have parallel and as opposed to a cumulative approval system. I have set a mandate for my people that approvals will have to come back from the 3 months average that you've noticed in the last 4 years, and then register and basically be handled within a 6 months period. That's a very tall order, and to do this, there's going to be a lot of complementarism between various agencies of government, and that's one of the things we're working on. Senator Gershom, I think you also asked me, how do I transit from a private to a public environment? Are there skills in the private sector, for example, that I can bring to the public sector? First is transparency. Some of the wild stories that I hear in the public sector are known to the environment in which I grew up for 30 years. And the first thing that I need to do is to get out of it. And that's why you've seen that within a very short order, we've ordered PwC back to do a forensic audit of our earnings. We've been able to bring our management reports from 2010 to 2014, and that's helping the PwC new complete audit. We have been able to start publishing our monthly reports, something we're going to keep doing. So transparency is key. The other is speed. Speed is time. Time costs money. And there is some level of laxity sometimes in public sectors, thinking that if you just take your time, things will go away. We're going to have to instill speed because we're dealing unbelievably with a sector where speed is of essence and means a lot of money and means the difference between success and failure of a project. No, I think there's a question from Senator Kazim, basically saying, asking me, what am I, on the pipelines, for example, what is the holistic solution to pipelines? And what are we going to do? Well, I'm sure that those of you who have followed the press in the recent times have gotten to a position where we have gotten the army involved, we have gotten security and community involved. Can we invest in new pipelines? Very expensive, but that's going to be a private sector-led effort that we're also encouraging. The ROT and NNPC I've already talked about and how we're unbundling that. I think that different from the 20 fixes that the distinguished senator mentioned, if you also look at my roadmap for the oil industry in totality, the 20 fixes we're dealing with NNPC's problems. and therefore community issues largely fall into the roadmap, for the oil industry. We have a book that I've just brought up on the roadmap for the oil sector, which canvasses all that. But community is key. Without the community, there will be no oil. Unless you deal with the community, there will be festiveness and you will not produce. I think we're all too realistic experiences in terms of what has happened to this sector in the past if we don't do this. So community is key, and we have an agenda on how to deal and relate and converse and hopefully work cooperatively with community.
Senator Small.
And the environment of the people living there as well. What do you think you can do?
Distinguished Senator, I can't hear you, please.
I can't hear you. Or to combat it? No, it's on. It is on. The mic is on.
Yes, thank you.
Laws against gas flaring in Nigeria. These activities still continues, which I believe it is damage to people's health and it is not conducive for people living nearby. What do you think you can do either to combat it or to reduce it at all for the safety of the people living around the place where you have gas flaring?
Senator Raji Rasaki.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator Fatima Raji Rasaki. I'm representing Ekiti Central. Dr. Kachikwu, I just have a simple question. What will you do on the issue of the NNPC supporter staff that have been owed salaries for several months? There are NNPC staff that have worked for over 10 years without confirmation. What will you do about that? Thank you.
Senator Stella Adwa.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, may I start by congratulating my dear brother here. I congratulate you. I have a few questions for you, most of which I'm sure you're already working on. Number one is the inconsistency in policy, particularly the petroleum product distribution policies. Often you have a situation where we have a policy that will incur investments, costs for those people who want to get involved in that particular distribution. But give or take 12 months within that time, you have a new policy that supersedes the one that has already been in place. I'm not sure how you're going to tackle that, but it's a huge problem. And it would be good if you focus on that, i.e., people invested in constructing tank farms all over the place. But these tank farms are so disconnected that really they're not getting sufficient fuel to manage. Again, if you look at the privatization part of it, it will help you to create an effective and efficient distribution system. The second one I have is on contracting policy. It's often amazing when you have a local contractor competing with a foreign contractor. The local one borrows at 25%, the foreign borrows at less than 5%. And so they are supposed to compete. It's so unfair that really you don't get a fair competition going on in that direction. It would be good if you also have a look at that and have it reviewed. And for employment within the industry, it's been ongoing for a long time. And I think what is happening is because we lack the database for our skill gap. Now, are you going to review that to the extent that we have a skill gap database and so you use it to address your host community issues and take into consideration their